down in the Bayou with Will Campbell. That's no indication of how we feel like these guys are being ranked, but a lot of people have him one on their big board. AQ, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. This is the most interesting time of the year because every NFL draft pundit has every projected first-round pick getting a gold jacket, going to the Hall of Fame, having crazy comparisons. But listen, it is so hard to judge offensive linemen right now because the college schemes, right? But when you look at him, he is not what I would say is the best prospect in this draft. When I take a look at him, I see a little soft on the edge. I see a little soft against the bull rush. I think he has all of the intangibles. He runs well. He proved a lot of things. A little shorter arm length, that doesn't mean anything to me, right? I had 29-inch arms. I was able to block people for 12 years. So that means nothing to me. So when I see him blocking people in the SEC, I know he can play football at the next level because a lot of the same people he blocked in the SEC, he will be blocking on Sundays for the next 10 plus years. But when you look at him, I think he's soft edge inside, soft edge outside. And when he takes a bull rush, it's a little soft. So I think his transition to the NFL is going to be a little bit tougher than a lot of people are assuming and saying he's the number one guy.
The thing I like most about him is he's tried and true. He's been tested. He's played in the SEC. He's gone against the best of the best. And he has put up good numbers. You flick on his film, he's getting to his spot. He's not constantly getting beat around the edge. He has that trustworthiness that I appreciate in the offensive lineman. Like, I remember one of my coaches early on in my career is like, hey, Justin, we win with a guy that's like this. I know what I'm getting out of him every single day. You can't win with a guy that gives you a great game and then a bad game, and then a great game and a bad game. And Will Campbell, when I put my head on my pillow at night, if he was my starting tackle in the NFL or starting offensive lineman in general, I feel good about that situation. Now, do I think he's a top 3 pick in the NFL? I would say no. Like, look, last year we broke down Joe Alt, and we both thought far and above that Joe Alt just put on NFL tape when you're watching him. And that was one of the biggest issues for me. We spent over decades each watching NFL film, and then you turn on the college film. What's the biggest difference? Because you've spent a lot of time in the coaching space and now training guys, watching the NFL players compared to a college pro.
The biggest difference for me is whenever you watch the film, the schemes are so different, right? So when you watch NFL versus college, you never see tackles running off the ball. Everything is inside zone. Everything is up the A gap, up the B gap. So you watch these tackles. When you turn his film on, if it's a zone to him, he never gets off the spot. It's always an inside pivot, seal the edge, and we're going to hit up underneath, right? And so when you see that, you don't know how he's going to do moving a Max Crosby off the edge who's holding the edge, and you have to move him off the spot so we can press the spot and then get up the B gap on the inside zone, or if it's a big cutback on the backside, right? Whenever you watch, you have to be able to just take attributes, and it's honestly a guessing game. And that's the biggest problem when you watch college film right now. And when you watch him, I think that's our biggest difference. When you watch him, you see consistency. When I watch him, all I see is Max Crosby's going to bull rush him, and he is going to struggle from day one.
Okay, so a lot of people were talking about moving him into guard. I shot some texts out to some guys in the NFL that are in the scouting departments for some of these teams that have played in a long time in the NFL. They think Will Campbell transitions to a elite interior offensive lineman. They talked about the short arms. He's got, 32 and 5/8. I had 32-inch arms. It was a red flag. I didn't even know arm length mattered until I got to the combine. His wingspan is 77 and 3/8, which is the shortest since 2011. So people see that and they automatically go, this guy's a guard. Is he a guard? Is he a tackle? Where do you see him fitting best?
Yeah, that's my biggest issue with scouts is the people upstairs, they watch the film and everybody has him ranked here and everybody sees him as this. And then you go to the combine. It was the same thing with me. I went there and they measure my arms. I might be the only lineman that had sub 30-inch arms in the history of the sport. It does not matter. Like
12 years later.
Yeah. The same,
Super Bowl rings later.
Right. The same guys I blocked at Michigan and Ohio State and Iowa and USC in the Rose Bowl were the same guys I blocked against on Sundays. And I blocked them in college and I blocked them in the NFL. If he can play tackle in the SEC, he can play tackle in the NFL. Yeah. That's the number one thing I take away every single year is from the tape, from the film. I don't care what they do at the combine. I don't care if he proves that he ran a 5.1 40 or he has short arms or whatever it is, right? Like, or somebody's going to run a 4.9 40. All of a sudden that makes him a first rounder. It's like, come on. We play in a phone booth. We play in a phone booth. That's what offensive line is. And so whenever I look at him, he can play tackle at the next level.
And I do love his ability to strain. Yes, he's got bull runs. You put on the Texas A&M film, and they got Stewart, and they have some other really premier pass rushers. He does get bulled at times, but I will say this. He strains. He's fighting his ass off to make sure no one's getting close to the quarterback, and I love that. You can't coach that. Some guys just give up and they quit on a play. This is a guy that you insert on your team. He's going to set the tone. You saw his the one thing I love most about him, he had this quote talking about if an offensive lineman lets up a sack once a game, they're working at Amazon, and a D lineman gets 1 sack a game, he's the highest paid player in the NFL. The reason I think he's a better guard than tackle, I played left tackle in college, played at Syracuse, didn't play in the SEC. The arm thing was floated out there. I look at his footwork, and I do think he lumbers a bit. He's not as quick twitch as some of the elite left tackles that we've been around and we've seen. That is my biggest fear for him at times. Now, he went out there and ran the sub 540s. No question, the straight line speed and all that's there. But when I look at his feet compared to a guy we're going to talk about here shortly, Kelvin Banks, I see left tackle feet when I look at Kelvin Banks. I don't see that with Will Campbell. Not saying he couldn't do it, but if you're the Patriots at 4, am I going to take a guy that I don't know if he can be there for the next 10 years like a Joe Alt or an Olu Fashanu? And I don't think I see that.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a little bit slower twitch than a lot of the guys we're going to be speaking about today. But before the combine, he was consensus #1 guy by almost everybody, right? So his tape is obviously liked by some. But I think when you do dive into the tape, again, the thing I keep going back to is if you're taking a guy in the top 15 picks, you're expecting him to step in and play right away. I was spoiled going to Tampa and watching Tristan Wirfs come in and seeing, okay, this is what a top 15 pick looks like. And oh, by the way, he's only got 2 all-pro teams on 2 different sides of the line. And when you take a look at him, he's going to have to come in. He's going to have to compete from day one. He's going to have to take on that $40 million bull rush. He's going to have to go against Nick Bosa, who has a motor like no other, who also has a good bull rush, who also squats 600 pounds, right? Like, these guys are freaks at the next level, absolute freaks. And more often than not, I watch him getting pressed back in college. I watch him giving up the edge and giving up a sack. I mean, there was a clip we looked at this morning. He didn't even touch the guy and gives up a sack.
Oklahoma.
Against Oklahoma. It's like, for me, those issues can't show. I mean, college, in my opinion, if you look back at your college tape and my college tape, college was easy. College was easy. I was able to do things in college and get away with so much stuff that you can't get away with in the NFL. And so if he's struggling with the basics at certain times against certain good rushers in the SEC, trust me, when he goes against Max Crosby, Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Trey Hendrickson, watch out.
Yeah, I mean, I had the first exposure of that when I went down to the Senior Bowl and I went against one of the guys from Georgia who didn't even end up making it really in the NFL. He bull rushed me for the first time, and I was like, okay, this is different. I was playing in the Big East. I'm going against Pitt. I'm going against Rutgers. I'm going against West Virginia. Going against Chandler Jones, who ended up being a first-round pick. But you go against a guy from the SEC, and he's able to bull rush you. That leaks into the NFL career. And unfortunately, a lot of these stereotypes end up hanging over a player and probably creeps into your confidence as well. So I think he is a surefire first-round pick. Is he going to go to all of our Patriots fans out there? Is he your guy? If this was last year's draft class and it was Joe Alt, I say, hey, Patriots, you're running up to the podium to put that ticket in. I think if you're the Patriots now, you're not sprinting up and putting his name down, and you might see a different, even though they need O-line help, and he does get the job done, I don't think he's forward to the Patriots, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's no question. We'll talk about, we defer a little bit on this, but I'll get to the guy who I think is the most NFL ready. And again, if I'm drafting the top 10 picks, and if I'm the Patriots and I need an O-lineman, I need an O-tackle at 4, it can't be this guy, in my opinion.
So the next guy we want to talk about is Kelvin Banks, Texas left tackle. You think he is the surefire OT1 in this draft class. Tell us why.
I do. I think he's the most physical. I think he plays with length. I think he can handle the bull rush. I think he's athletic as hell. There's clips that you can find on tape of him running, alley screens and speed screens, getting out in space and decleating corners. That's exactly what you need athletically from a tackle at the next level. But when you watch him and you watch his technique, you watch him high leg gallop and take hips as he climbs the second, he's decleating D tackles. He's getting to the second level. He's getting on them guys. When he's playing on the edge against the edge rushers, He's always playing at length. Always. Good pass sets. He's never given a soft edge. When we talk about Will Campbell, that's my biggest critique, is the fact that he gives a soft edge. That hip opens and he gets pressed. This guy never does. He keeps the width of the pocket. Never once did the quarterback of Texas, Quinn Ewers, ever have to feel like there was something coming or collapsing on him. He plays physical. He plays with length. He's athletic. He's got good feet. He's got all the intangibles. I think he's more physically gifted. I think he's more physically capable of stepping in from day one, and that's why I like him the best.
So when I put on his film, I do see all those physical attributes. When we talk about fast feet, when you're watching a player come off the ball, his ability to be explosive with that first step, he picks him up and puts him down. And it almost feels like you're pressing fast forward when you put it on because you see these feet moving. A guy we played with, DJ Humphries, had some of the quickest feet. And you're like, you know what a left tackle's feet looks like. You know when you put on a DJ Humphries, who was a first-round pick. You know when you put on a Trent Williams. These guys are athletes. They'd be playing a different position on the football field if they were maybe 60 pounds lighter. They might be able to go play a tight end or something like that or a defensive line. My one issue with Kelvin Banks is he's still raw. I do think he's still raw, and I think the situation really will matter for him where he goes, the coaching he gets. I think Will Campbell, I feel more comfortable if we didn't do any coaching. No NFL team got their hands on him, and I said, hey, Will, you got to go start an NFL game tomorrow. And then I go to Kelvin and say, hey, you got to start an NFL game tomorrow. I actually feel like Will is going to give me the more consistent play. And that is the reason why, in my opinion, I have Will still ranked higher than Kelvin. Again, we broke down last year. I think we had Olu Fashanu and we had Joe Wall. I probably would have ranked both those guys ahead of these players. I think Olu was a little raw, and he showed with that freak athleticism and his ability to have the longer arms. He doesn't have the longest arms either, right? Look at us now. Now I'm becoming – we're done talking about arm length. I just threw it out there. Yeah, exactly. I think at times, though, he doesn't punch as well as Campbell does. I think Campbell has he plays with good length. I feel like sometimes he gets a little loopy with those hands at times. And I speak for me because that's something I did early on in my career. I think he relies on that athleticism, that lower body, that ability to anchor on a defender to his advantage. So that is my one take when it comes to Kelvin Banks. And he also had some injuries. He had a little bit of a knee issue going through the college football playoffs. I love that he fought through it. But I get a little nervous with a player coming off an injury like that. If you're a team, is that something that concerns you early on? Because they hold injuries over our head. Every player has had it. It's happened to both of us throughout our careers. You come into the league and say, hey, I'm coming off a knee injury. That makes me a bit nervous. I know there's some other guys we're going to talk about later also had some knee issues.
Yeah, I don't think his was super serious. Like, I don't think he's coming off like a major ACL or major Achilles or something crazy like that. So, like, listen, injuries are part of the game. It's going to happen. It's a violent sport. It's a physical sport. Getting back to the technique stuff, I'm just going to kind of debate you a little bit here. Jason Peters threw the hell out of his hands, had a crazy good punch, right? Joe Thomas, Trent Williams, Christian Darrisaw, they do not punch.
Yeah.
They play with length. They get to their spot and they play with length. I don't think Lane Johnson's a major puncher. He gets to his spot and he just plays with length.
Lane's a grabber.
That's
Lane
it.
does this
just
all
grabs. Day. So I don't think
he dares them to bull rush.
Absolutely. And that's what the good ones do, especially when you have good feet, especially when you have all the physical attributes. And that's what I love about this kid. He needs to be physical when he needs to be physical. But at the end of the day, he gets to his spot. He's athletic. He relies on his feet, and he plays here. I don't care how strong you are as a defensive end or an edge rusher coming. If you play here at 320 pounds with 34-inch arms, 35-inch arms, whatever it is, as long as you don't get caught with those arms bent and you play here, he's going to win every time.
And the other thing I do love is he has the ability to jump set. Will Campbell, because I think it's a little bit more slow-footed, he never mixes up his sets. I'm watching him. He's taking the same set, which I think is a quick fix for him. It's like, hey, Will, we can add some tools to your toolbox. Let's start getting you out there jump setting. This guy, he can get up on you really quickly, and he can lock you down. He definitely has the higher upside. He has all those intangibles that we talk about. Again, I just get a little bit nervous of like, he gets in there. There are times that he opens up that hip. And he opens up that left hip and lets that edge rusher get a little piece of him. Now, I don't know if that was a little bit health-related during the college football playoffs, but you see it on film. And just like you said, Myles Garrett isn't slowing down. Abdul Carter's, Micah Parsons, these guys that he's going to get to go against on Sundays, they are going to test that edge, and that makes me a bit nervous taking him top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I just, in my opinion, when you look at these two, I think he has more physical gifts. He's stronger at the point. He's more physical. He literally does everything, in my opinion, better than Will Campbell. When I'm looking at, I need a guy in the top 10. I need a guy in the top 15. I need a guy to come in and play right now. That's the guy.
And he plays a little bit like a defensive lineman. He plays like he's got a little bit of asshole in him.
Yeah.
He plays aggressive. He has that. That was always a compliment. Like when coaches told me, I always took pride in that. You actually were a defensive lineman in college before switching over. What does that mean when someone says you play offensive line like a defensive lineman?
Yeah, it means you're a gnat. It means you're a prick. You're finishing guys through the whistle, not to the whistle. And that was the biggest thing. When I went to Pittsburgh, that was how I got noticed. I remember my agent told me, it was like, hey, listen, like you're going to be going against Casey Hampton, Chris Hoke, Brett Kiesel, Travis Kershke, all these, James Harrison, Lamar Woodley, you got James Fair. I mean, just name after name on that Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And it was like, you need to be the guy that when that whistle blows, you're getting the last pushing, you're getting the last shoving. Everybody upstairs will notice that. Every scout will notice that. Every coach will notice that. Every D lineman you play against will get pissed off, and then you'll start to get in their head. Those things matter. When you look at a guy and it's equal talent, and you can turn on the tape and you see this guy finishing guys. He's always finishing the whistle. If he's free, he's taking a rib shot. If he's pulling out on a corner, he's not just trying to get on a guy. He's trying to bury him and put him into the bench and put him on the ground.
Yeah.
That's the guy I want.
Spice up your sports viewing experience with the Underdog app. Underdog is the best place to play. Pick 'em on all of your favorite sports. Just choose higher or lower on your favorite players' stats, and you can join the millions of fans who have won billions of dollars on Underdog. What are you waiting for? Sign up now using promo code POCKET. That's POCKET, and you can get up to $1,000 in bonus credits. Download the Underdog app or visit UnderdogFantasy.com to get started today.